We've all heard those heartbreaking stories, babies abandoned, left on doorsteps, or even worse, discarded by parents who, for whatever reason, can't or won't care for them. It's a reason safe haven laws exist and why baby boxes have been installed across the country to give these little ones a chance at life. But what happened this past Tuesday, July 29th, in Dyer County, Tennessee, isn't one of those typical stories. A woman found a baby, just 7 months old, sitting in a car seat, seemingly abandoned in her front yard. At first glance, it looked like yet another tragic case of a child left behind. But within hours, authorities would discover that this wasn't a story about a baby nobody wanted. This little girl was loved deeply by her parents and by her family. Why then was she left alone in a stranger's yard? Well, it turns out that something horrific happened, not just to her parents, but to other members of her family as well. Whoever was responsible showed no mercy to anyone except for choosing to spare this precious baby's life. And now a suspect has been identified, which sparked a nationwide manhunt that finally ended in his arrest just this Tuesday morning. So stay with us as we try to untangle the truth behind this devastating case, a case that's left a community shaken, families destroyed, and the public demanding answers. Dyer County sits in the northwest corner of Tennessee, a quiet, rural stretch of farmland and small towns where life tends to move a little slower. It's the kind of place where neighbors know each other by name and violent crime is rare. But that peaceful sense of community was shattered this past week by a crime so brutal, it's left the entire county devastated. On Tuesday at around 3:11 p.m., a witness spotted someone dropping off a baby strapped in a car seat in the front yard of a random home. The witness quickly called 911, telling dispatchers they had seen the person drive off from the house on Old Highway 20 in the small, unincorporated community of Tigard in Dyer County. They described the vehicle as either a dark-colored minivan or a white mid-sized SUV. And from that moment, local law enforcement scrambled to figure out two things. Who was this baby? And where were her parents? Authorities posted a photo of the baby girl on their Facebook page, asking the public for any information that could help identify her. Someone viewed the post and recognized the little girl and helped identify the baby. Her name is Weslyn Sabry Leilani Wilson, and she was born in December of 2024, making her now 7 months old. With this information, police released an updated post asking for help getting in contact with Weslyn's family members, her mother, Adriana Williams, her father, Matthew Wilson, or her maternal grandmother, Courtney Rose. Courtney Rose, born Courtney Sabry Childress in November of 1986, lived a life that revolved around her family. She was only 19 years old when she became a mother for the first time, giving birth to her daughter, Adriana Williams, on January 2nd, 2005. And from that moment on, Courtney embraced motherhood with her whole heart. 4 years later, she welcomed a son, Braden Williams, on September 23rd, 2009. The family grew again in 2015 with the birth of another son, Lanston, and was completed in 2017 when Courtney gave birth to her youngest, a daughter named McKenna. Family was everything to Courtney. A quick scroll through her Facebook told the story of a very proud mother. Picture after picture shows her children growing up, birthday parties, school events, candid shots of siblings playing and laughing together. It is clear this was a close-knit family built on love, with Courtney at the center of it all. By the time Courtney was just 38 years old, life came full circle. She became a grandmother. Her oldest daughter, Adriana, followed a path similar to her mother's, giving birth at a young age. Adriana had attended Dyer County High School, where she met Matthew Wilson, a talented athlete and a star on the school's football team. Matthew, born on July 2nd, 2004, was known around Dyer for his plays on the field and his easygoing charm off of it. Adriana and Matthew's relationship began on July 4th, 2022, a fitting date for young love sparked under the summer fireworks. What started as a high school romance quickly blossomed into a partnership built on shared responsibility. After graduation, they faced adulthood head on. On December 12th, 2024, the young couple welcomed their daughter, Weslyn Sabry Leilani Wilson. Despite their age, Adriana and Matthew were determined to be devoted parents. Matthew found work at Boomer Environmental, supporting their growing little family. Weslyn, or Wessie, as they affectionately called her, was surrounded by love. She was doted on by her parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Family gatherings became even more lively with the addition of the newest generation. By then came July 29th, 2025. How does a deeply loved child like Weslyn end up left alone in a stranger's yard with no trace of the family that adored her? Well, later that night at 10:26 p.m., another 911 call came in. The caller's identity hasn't been publicly released, but it's believed to be someone close to the family, possibly a relative or friend who had gone over to check on them after hearing about the baby being abandoned. Maybe they were even planning to let them know the police were looking for answers, but instead of finding Courtney and her daughter, Adriana, the caller reported them missing. While still on the line with 911, they were outside the home searching the property with a flashlight, calling their names, but there was no sign of the mother and daughter anywhere. Well, about 30 minutes later, at around 11 p.m., Lake County Police found 4 individuals dead in a wooded area along Carrington Road in Tiptonville, about 40 miles away from where Westland was located. The rural road is typically very quiet and dead ends near Reelfoot Lake. It's not been formally announced, but some publications are indicating that the victims were shot. The next day, the victims were identified as baby Westland's parents, 20-year-old Adriana Williams and 21-year-old Matthew Wilson, her maternal grandmother, 38-year-old Courtney Rose, and maternal uncle, 15-year-old Braden Williams. Dyer County investigators quickly joined forces with the Lake County Sheriff's Office, and as the scope of the crime became apparent, the Tennessee Bureau Investigation and even the FBI were called in. There was one urgent question demanding an answer: who killed this family? It's not entirely clear what first put authorities on the trail of their suspect, but what is clear is that law enforcement had a growing interest in speaking with a man named Austin Drummond. 28-year-old Austin Drummond wasn't a stranger to the family. In fact, he had close personal ties. He was said to either currently be dating or to have previously dated Courtney Rose's sister, Caitlin Speed. Rumors were also swirling that Caitlin, who is confirmed to be safe, may even be pregnant with Austin's child. Some have speculated that Caitlin herself may have quietly tipped off investigators, leading them straight to Austin. Others believe it was inevitable that his name would come up given his lengthy and disturbing criminal history. Either way, Austin Drummond had landed in the crosshairs of a multi-agency homicide investigation. So, who is Austin Drummond? Well, he's definitely no stranger to law enforcement. In fact, he spent 13 years behind bars in the custody of the Tennessee Department of Corrections, serving time for convictions of aggravated robbery and retaliation for past actions, both serious, violent felonies that took place in Madison County, Tennessee. He was said to have robbed a Circle K gas station at gunpoint and then threatened the clerk at the gas station and all 12 jurors in his trial. But Austin's story doesn't stop at those convictions. While incarcerated, he racked up more than 24 disciplinary actions, including possession of a deadly weapon, assault, refusing a drug test, and gang activity. His name also came up in connection with yet another serious crime: attempted murder. He was released from prison on September 1st, 2024, and that very same week, a grand jury indicted him for the attempted murder case. So just as he was tasting freedom, authorities were waiting to haul him right back into custody. Yet despite the gravity of those charges, Austin was able to post a $30,000 bond and walk free once again. Adding to the disturbing complexity of this case is a personal connection that can't be ignored. The Tennessee Department of Corrections confirmed that during his time at the Northwest Correctional Complex, Austin became acquainted with a corrections officer, Caitlin Speed. Yes, that Caitlin Speed, the sister of Courtney Rose. Their relationship, which reportedly began while Drummond was still incarcerated, eventually evolved into a romantic involvement. Given Drummond's history of violence, his parole prospects were grim. In fact, District Attorney Jody Pickens personally wrote a letter to Austin's parole board, and in that letter, Pickens didn't mince words. He warned, quote, "This office strongly opposes his early release on parole. Austin Drummond is a dangerous felony offender and a confirmed member of the Vice Lords," end quote. So the Vice Lords are one of the oldest and largest street gangs in the United States. Initially formed as a neighborhood protection group, they quickly evolved into a violent criminal organization involved in drug trafficking, robbery, extortion, and other serious crimes. The gang has a structured hierarchy and is known for its strong presence in prisons and urban communities across several states, including Tennessee. The Vice Lords are also known for their use of symbols like the top hat, cane, and a 5-pointed star. But despite these warnings, despite his violent criminal record, despite an active attempted murder indictment, Austin Drummond was out on bond, walking free, and now with a family brutally murdered. Investigators had every reason to believe that he may be involved. They just didn't know why. A quick word from our sponsor because, okay, I have to talk about OneSkin. I've been using their products for a few months now, especially their face moisturizer and eye cream. And honestly, my skin has never felt smoother or looked more even. I was skeptical at first, but I've seen real results. The biggest surprise, how simple the routine is. Just cleanse, pat dry, and apply twice a day. That's it. And their OS1 peptide, that's actually the first ingredient proven to target the root causes of aging at a cellular level. I'm talking fine lines and dullness, that creepy, crepey skin, the fading, and their formulas are so gentle. I've had no redness, no irritation, just that soft, plump skin that we all wish came naturally. I've even started using it on my arms and chest, not just my face. And it has become one of those products I literally won't travel without. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. And right now you can get 15% off with code HIDDEN at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co with code HIDDEN. And after you purchase, make sure to tell them we sent you. It really helps support the show. Give your skin the care it deserves, backed by real science with OneSkin. On Thursday, July 31st, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued a statewide alert. They were on the lookout for a white 2016 Audi believed to be driven by Austin Drummond. The car had Tennessee plates and noticeable damage to the driver's side, a detail investigators hoped would make it stand out to the public. The very next day, Friday, August 1st, that same Audi was located abandoned along MCO Road in North Jackson, roughly 70 miles southeast of Tiptonville, where the victims' bodies had been discovered. The discovery came just hours before the TBI was set to hold a press conference about the ongoing investigation.
Victims were discovered on Tuesday, July 29th, in a wooded area along Carrington Road in Tiptonville. Based on what we know at this time, we do not believe that this was a random act of violence. It appears, with all the information that we have, is that this was a targeted incident. This is why I think it's critical for us to reach out and appeal to Austin and those who may be assisting him to turn himself in, or for them to call us and let us know where he is so that we can bring him in to question him about what took place. We know, frankly, that based on information of the incident, that while this was an extremely tragic and violent event, that there was a sign of compassion, if you will, that we know happened, that tells us that there's a possibility that Austin may have a sense that that there is hope for him to be able to come in and have a conversation about what happened. And because of that, we're asking him to give us a call. Let us pick you up or bring yourself in. Find a legal representative and come by. And let us sit down and have a conversation about what happened.
This past Tuesday, we faced a heart-wrenching situation where an infant was found about 3:11 p.m. on Old Highway 20, abandoned in a car seat just off of Highway 412. The baby was immediately cared for by those who saw the infant be dropped off, and EMS was called to evaluate the baby. And I'm glad to report that thankfully the baby is safe and being cared for. And the Dyer County Sheriff's Office does have jurisdiction into the investigation regarding this abandoned child. In addition to the distressing scenario, we're also dealing with 4 tragic homicides that occurred in Lake County. And just as those before me have expressed, our hearts go out to all of those families and friends that have been deeply impacted with pain and grief of the actions that have occurred this week. Each life lost is truly a tragedy, and we extend our deepest sympathies to all of those who are grieving. And we want to assure you that we're doing everything in our power to uncover the truth and to provide answers.
But what they found inside the vehicle added an eerie layer to the story. Authorities said it appeared as though Austin had been living out of the car. There were personal belongings scattered throughout, indicators of someone who had been on the run. With the Audi now recovered but no sign of Austin, a manhunt quickly intensified. Law enforcement combed through the wooded areas, fields, and back roads surrounding MCO Road, hoping to find either Austin or any clue that might suggest where he had fled next. To encourage tips from the public, a $15,000 reward was announced, pooled together by the TBI and the U.S. Marshal Service. But despite the manhunt and the monetary incentive, Austin Drummond remained missing. By Saturday, August 2nd, the TBI issued a public plea to residents and business owners along Highway 78, stretching from Dyersburg to Lake County. Investigators asked that anyone with security or dash camera footage from Tuesday, July 29th, 2025, between 6 a.m. and 4 p.m., take a close look at their recordings. They were specifically searching for any sightings of 4 vehicles: a white Nissan Rogue, a black Dodge Charger, Austin's white Audi, and a white Chevrolet Traverse. And while all of those vehicles had already been located and secured by law enforcement, officials were now focused on piecing together a timeline of movement, where these vehicles had been, and more importantly, who was with them. Any video evidence from that time frame could potentially unlock crucial leads. In a surprising twist, authorities also announced they had recovered yet another abandoned vehicle, a 1988 white Ford truck. This truck was registered to Matthew, one of the murder victims, and baby Weslin's father. Police then released surveillance footage showing Austin attempting to pull door handles outside a church near the site where the truck was found. By Monday afternoon, as the manhunt showed no signs of slowing down, the stakes were raised. The reward for information leading to Austin Drummond's capture was increased to a combined $27,500, $17,500 from the TBI, and an additional $10,000 contributed by the U.S. Marshal Service. The authorities were making it clear they needed the public's help, and they were willing to pay for it. The TBI made a targeted appeal to Jackson residents, particularly those living near Pipkin Road and Pleasant Plains Road. They asked locals to check their doorbell cameras, home security systems, or any surveillance devices for footage. Investigators believe that Austin may have passed through or may have been hiding in that area. The manhunt was tightening, but Austin Drummond was still out there somewhere. By August 3rd, the investigation had started closing in, not just on Austin Drummond, but on people who allegedly helped him in the aftermath of the murders. That day, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation announced the arrest of 2 men, Tanaka Brown and Giovanni Thomas. Both were charged with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder, and Brown is also charged with 1 count of tampering with evidence. But the arrest didn't stop there. A 3rd individual was also taken into custody, 23-year-old Dara Sanders. And according to the TBI agents, she also aided Austin after the crimes, helping him evade capture in the critical days following the killings. With these arrests, authorities were slowly unraveling a network of alleged accomplices who had assisted Austin. But despite these breakthroughs, their main suspect was still out there. Reports were flooding in from residents. Multiple people claimed to have spotted a man matching Austin's description. He was wearing camouflage clothing and was reportedly armed with a rifle. The situation escalated quickly. Jackson police issued an urgent alert warning residents in the area to lock their doors, stay inside, and remain vigilant. Their message was clear and chilling. He is considered armed and extremely dangerous. Then a crucial tip came in. On August 4th, a local resident received an unexpected alert from his home security system. His motion detector had been triggered. When he pulled up the live feed on his phone, what he saw was chilling. There, moving through his backyard, was Austin Drummond, dressed in camouflage and carrying a rifle. He was caught on camera, giving investigators their most recent and most precise lead yet. In response, law enforcement swarmed the area. A wooded patch of land near Union University became the focal point of the search. The manhunt was now operating in real time, not far from a bustling part of town. As a precaution, Jackson Christian School, located less than a mile from the active search zone, was placed on lockdown. Parents, students, and faculty were left in a state of fear as officers scoured the area for any sign of Austin. Tension in Jackson had reached its peak. The suspect was close, possibly cornered, but still dangerously on the loose. And then, on the morning of Tuesday, August 5th, at nearly a week on the run, the manhunt for Austin Drummond finally came to an end. Just after sunrise, the City of Jackson Police Department confirmed what the community had been hoping for. Austin had been spotted again by sharp-eyed residents, this time moving through another wooded area in Jackson. Law enforcement had been closing the net for days, and now the opportunity to take him down had arrived. Officers quickly moved in, and residents in the immediate vicinity were ordered to shelter in place. For those living nearby, it was a tense and terrifying morning, not knowing where exactly Drummond was hiding, but knowing he was armed and dangerous, extremely dangerous. And shortly after 8 a.m., a citizen named Ricardo Contreras Mendoza spotted Austin. He was taken into custody without further incident.
All right, so what's your name?
My name is Ricardo Contreras.
Ricardo Contreras. And tell us a little bit about what just happened.
Well, what happened was we are working over here, and we saw the guy walking in the middle of the wood.
Thank you.
And we thought, like, nobody wants to walk in the middle of the wood, in the middle of this stuff. So we was kind of like very sure it was the guy. So I called the police immediately when the guy was walking right there, and kind of like give them the location and everything. And they'd be hearing about, actually I was on the phone when they got here. So, and I'm really glad they got it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The hero. Great job, big guy.
I just called them, They are the heroes.
After days of evasion, armed with a rifle and with law enforcement on high alert, it ended in the woods where he had been hiding, tired, outnumbered, and with nowhere left to go. As news broke of his arrest, the public learned the extent of the charges he is now facing. Austin Drummond has been formally charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of aggravated kidnapping, 4 counts of felon in possession of a firearm, and 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony.
Just after 8 o'clock a.m., we received multiple calls of sightings of the suspect. Placing resources there immediately resulted in an additional citizen's call at about 8:57 a.m. We took advantage of that quickly evolving situation and made the arrest at 9:05 a.m. I'd like to introduce you right now to Officer Trout, Officer Compton, and Officer Drown. They were there right at the right spot and reacted immediately and are responsible for the apprehension of Austin Drummond. As this case moves forward, any additional charges or prosecutorial decisions from any actions that may have occurred within Jackson will be deferred to District Attorney Jody Pickens. We will continue to support his office and the TBI as this process unfolds and ensure that every step toward justice is taken thoroughly and properly. Today, again, we find some peace in knowing that the suspect is no longer a threat, but remain committed to the families, the community, and to justice. Thank you.
Tonight, families in West Tennessee can sleep more soundly. Austin Drummond is once again behind bars. He is suspected of an unthinkable crime that put all of us, an entire city and area, on edge. He thought he could outrun us, but he was wrong. That's because together we cannot be stopped. Law enforcement from every level and the people who call West Tennessee home did our parts. We worked long hours, neighbors stayed vigilant, agencies donated reward money, and someone saw something. They saw something out of the ordinary this morning and did what he was supposed to do. Because of that action, Drummond is in custody.
During the press conference, TBI Director David Roush revealed a key detail in the ongoing investigation. Austin Drummond had been staying in a vacant structure, which investigators are now referring to as a pool house. It's not clear yet how long he had been using the location as a hideout. What is clear, though, is that this pool house turned out to be more than just a place of shelter. According to Director Roush, additional firearms were discovered inside the building. At this stage, investigators are working to determine whether any of them were used in the murders that Austin is accused of committing. But for now, the authorities are being cautious in their statements, emphasizing that they're waiting on forensic results before making definitive conclusions. On Monday morning, before Austin was even captured, Tanaka Brown and Dara Sanders were arraigned in court. Their bonds were set at $250,000 each. Giovante Thomas and another alleged accomplice, Brandon Powell, are set to be arraigned in the coming days. The arrests marked a turning point, but for the families of the victims and the community still grappling with the shock, the road to justice is now just beginning. Of all the questions surrounding this case, one continues to echo the loudest. Why? What could have possibly driven Austin Drummond to turn on a family that had trusted him, a family who welcomed him into their lives despite his criminal past? This wasn't a random act of violence. Austin knew his victims. He was close to them. And yet 4 lives were brutally taken. And in his rampage, Austin chose to spare 1 life, baby Weslyn. Weslyn is now left to grow up without her parents, without her mother, Adriana, without her father, Matthew, her grandmother, Courtney, and her uncle, Braden. They all adored her, and now they're gone. Courtney's 2 surviving children, McKenna and Lanston, are also left in the aftermath. They've lost not only their mother, but their big sister and their brother, Braden, whose lives were senselessly cut short. For a family that once seemed so full of life, laughter, and love, Austin's actions left behind an unimaginable void. Family members say that Austin had always been someone they trusted, someone who had been given grace despite his past. That's what makes this case all the more haunting. This wasn't a stranger. This wasn't a man lurking in the shadows. This was someone they knew. Courtney's sister-in-law, Breer Ashley Childress, wrote in a Facebook post, quote, "Yes, he was close to our family. Yes, we cared about him and thought he cared about us. He has literally been nothing short of amazing to us and our kids every time he has been around us up until this point. He has been amazing to our niece. We never expected him to cause any harm to anyone, much less anyone in our family. We are heartbroken. We are confused. We are devastated. We are mortified. We are hurting. Our kids are hurting. If you think for 1 second that people only get hurt by strangers, look up 90% of murder cases. A lot of times it's by someone close to them that at one time showed love and support to them. Sometimes it's even their own spouse. So please think before you comment something ugly. Yes, we thought we knew him. Caitlin thought she knew him. Courtney, Adriana, Braden, and Matthew thought they knew him. We all trusted him. We want justice for my sister-in-law, niece, nephew, and niece's boyfriend more than any one of you that had never even met our loved ones." End quote. Matthew's family had this to say as well. Quote, "Matthew was more than just a brother, a son, or a friend. He was a guiding light and an irreplaceable presence in our lives. He was a devoted father and would do anything to take care of his child and family. Matthew's quick wit and infectious smile lit up any room he walked into. Growing up with him was an adventure. He was always there, whether to offer a helping hand or to provide a shoulder to lean on. Though his time with us was cut short, the impact he made on us will last forever. His legacy lives on in the countless lives he touched and memories that we hold so dearly." End quote. In the aftermath of Austin Drummond's arrest, there has been a wave of public outrage, not just over the brutality of the crime itself, but over how someone like Austin was even in a position to commit it. People are questioning how a man with a documented history of violent offenses, including a current murder charge, was out on bond and walking free. Many feel the system failed, allowing a dangerous individual the opportunity to strike again. It's a bitter and infuriating reality that this tragedy might have been prevented. As of now, no clear motive has been revealed. Was this a personal dispute that spiraled into unthinkable violence, or was it a premeditated, calculated attack? Those answers may come out in court, or they may never come at all. Baby Westland is said to be safe, now in the care of family members who will raise her in the shadow of this tragedy. And while the streets are undoubtedly safer with Austin Drummond and his alleged accomplices behind bars, the path to justice for these grieving families is far from over. But we'll be there every step of the way, following the court proceedings, uncovering new developments, and bringing you every detail as this case unfolds. And we'll be here, holding on to hope that everyone responsible for this horrific crime will be held accountable. Because for the victims and for those they left behind, justice is the only ending this story deserves.